how about we delve into another world of scary videos? Hold on tight as we begin. What happened in room 209? Was it really a ghost? Or was it, like we suspect, a prank? Let's see the video.
Was a real ghost caught on camera in room 209? In September 2003, at one of the Wingate hotels in Illinois, the staff started getting reports of screaming coming from room 209. At first, they thought it was a prank, as no one had checked into room 209 and it was supposed to be empty. However, more complaints came in, and eventually the manager named John went up to check on the room. Opening the door, all the furniture was seen overturned. The carpet had holes in it, and the shower was left on. This was the footage that was captured that day. If you look closely at the replay, you can see something exiting the room as John opens the door. So,
when will the world end? There is a man who says 2023 is going to be the end of the world. How? Check out this next clip.
Is 2053 going to be the end of the world? On October 22nd, 2022, a man by the name of Peter Reuter mysteriously appeared, claiming to be from the year 2062. He insisted that he needed to stop a woman named Mary Baker from getting on a plane to London, but claims he doesn't know her at all. When questioned further, he simply said that she will cause the spread of a new strain of the virus. The psychiatrist assigned to him, Dr. Knight, doesn't believe him, but gets taken aback when Peter discloses her personal information that nobody knows. Peter's warnings got eerily morbid as he says that if he doesn't stop Mary Baker, there will be nothing left by October 23rd, 2053. Even though you can check out the scripted audio series Case 63, starring Julianne Moore and Oscar Isaac on Spotify, many people still wonder if this man is a time traveler. And
what is in Denver Airport? I mean, this all seems like they're hiding things in plain sight. There are one too many strange things you might not know about Denver Airport.
What are they hiding in the Denver Airport? Denver Airport has been at the center of controversy and conspiracy ever since it opened. From the giant blue horse nicknamed Blucifer to its swastika-designed runway, it's as if the airport is trying to hide something in plain sight. Originally, it was scheduled to be open in 1993, but it was delayed by 2 years and ran over budget by more than $2 billion. It was reported that the delay was caused by people who were in charge when they kept hiring and firing contractors, keeping the full layout of the airport a secret. Furthermore, it was reported that there were at least 6 different underground levels and 5 actual buildings sitting under the airport. However, it remains heavily guarded, and the true purpose of these facilities remain unknown. But perhaps the strangest thing is that when you enter the airport, you can find a plaque that reads the New World Airport Commission. However, if you go look it up, it doesn't exist. With all that said, many people are wondering.
A set of people believes that aliens already watch the Earth. After watching this next clip, you might think the same.
The aliens are already watching us. On September 12, 1991, NASA launched Space Shuttle Mission number 48. It was supposed to be a simple mission to deploy an upper atmosphere research satellite. However, 3 days into the mission, as they were drifting over Alice Springs, Australia, the camera of the shuttle caught a UFO moving slowly through the atmosphere. When a bright light got shot out of the Earth's surface, it comes to a stop and makes a 45-degree turn instantaneously and shoots in the opposite direction. Coincidentally, there is a covert CIA base in Alice Springs in Australia, right below where this footage was taken, leading some to believe that
there is a probability that there is something that happened when man first got on the moon that the public is not privy to. It all doesn't add up.
What actually happened on the moon? In 2009, a photo was found on NASA's website where a photo of the moon crater was seen in the background. When enhanced, you can see that there are structures that look like a base of operations on it. Furthermore, Neil Armstrong has come forth and said that there were other things on the moon during the moon landing, as quoted by him. These babies are huge, sir. Enormous. Oh God, you wouldn't believe it. They are on the moon watching us. So, who else is on the moon? And
maybe a time machine has really been made. Maybe he did, because how do we explain this coincidence between the years?
did this man get stuck in the past? In 1995, Mike Markham set out to create a time machine. His idea was to use compact lasers to reduce the air pressure going in either pole direction. Mike was a recluse and worked tirelessly on his invention. On one occasion, he even caused a citywide blackout. However, it might have benefited him as he garnered some attention and received anonymous donations to help fund his invention. When asked about what he would bring if he could time travel, he simply replied, "My cell phone." However, in 1997, Mike and his work mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Soon afterwards, a news story was uncovered from the 1930s, claiming that an unrecognizable man was found crushed in a metal tube on a California beach, and the only thing found with the body was a cell phone from the 1990s. So,
in this next clip, you would witness near traps that the main characters could have fallen into, but for some great luck didn't. It is quite shocking.
Scary things found deep in the woods. This footage recorded on the 1st of August 2020 shows a dirt bike rider riding in the woods when all of a sudden this happens. The dirt bike rider almost rides straight into a deadly trap that was set up on the trail. This is called a trail trap and they are set up to try and kill dirt bikers. It's unknown who put the trap there and why they did it, but thankfully the rider stopped just in time. Follow for more.
It is one thing to want to serve the country, but talking about keeping soldiers in a building that goes by the name Ghost Town, nah, this is where we draw the line. But why the said alias? Does it have anything to do with this building? Find out.
This is one of the scariest ghost stories I've heard, so now everyone's got to hear it. Back in 2003, there was this group of deployed American Marines who got moved into abandoned military housing that was dubbed Ghost Town. It got the name because apparently the first group of Marines that lived there only made it a week before they couldn't live there anymore. They said they couldn't sleep the entire time they were there. Like all night they would hear the sounds of children laughing, of like footsteps upstairs when there was no one there. I talk about it this week on the podcast, but one night the new group that had moved in had to go out and patrol the area. So they're walking through the neighborhood, like past a bunch of abandoned houses, and then all of a sudden, one of the Marines just starts screaming. He throws his weapon down and just takes off running, like through enemy territory with no weapon. So half of the Marines chase after him, and then the other half turn around to see what he was screaming at. They said that behind them, there was this creature that looked like a shadow come to life. It was really tall and skinny, but they said it had these bright, glowing red eyes. But before they knew what to do, it just vanished. The craziest part is that multiple other people have reported seeing this exact creature like in the area. If you want to hear more of these stories, you gotta check out the podcast this week.
Having imaginary friends is normal, isn't it? I mean, we all had one or two growing up, but there is something eerily weird about this imaginary friend story. Perhaps a real ghost.
I feel like kids can see ghosts that we can't see. This story is about an imaginary friend that was probably something way worse. And if you like spooky stuff, definitely check out my podcast. A woman in Virginia claimed that when her daughter was little, she used to have an imaginary friend that she called Little Michael. And at first it was all the normal imaginary friend stuff that kids do. She would ask if Little Michael could eat dinner with them. She would ask if Little Michael could tuck her in at night. But she also said that if Little Michael didn't do those things, that he would get mad, which the mom thought was kind of weird. But then one day the daughter is drawing, so the mom comes over to see what the daughter's working on. And she had drawn a stick figure of herself holding hands with a ghostly child figure that was in tattered clothes. This isn't the exact photo, but the child apparently had these deep, large black eyes and was holding wilting flowers in the other hand. So the mom's a little worried and she's like, "Hey, what are you drawing?" And the daughter's like, "Oh, it's Little Michael." The mom said the daughter demanded that that photo be put on the fridge, and after the drawing was placed on the fridge, Little Michael just kind of stopped showing up as much. The mom chalks it up to a little kid's imagination, but also says that anytime there's any sound in the house, that's all she can think of.
Stuck between realities? This was one weird event because no one knew what was the issue with the TVs or why they all happened to come on saying the same thing simultaneously.
One of the strangest feelings that I can imagine is just feeling like your reality isn't very real. There's a very strange event that took place in Duluth, Minnesota in 1988 where every single TV in this town turned on by itself at the exact same time. This was the image that flashed on the screen for exactly 4 minutes. It did move, and what's even eerier is that it actually spoke and would repeatedly say it was stuck between realities. It happened in like every single household, and it was quick, but there were some people who were able to get pictures of their screens. At some point, everybody thought this was some kind of elaborate prank until this happened. State troopers and government officials came into Duluth and privately removed TVs from almost every household and then compensated everybody, and nobody really knew why. State officials would eventually claim this was for security reasons, but a lot of people questioned, was this a prank or was this something else?
There is an elderly woman in this footage, but there is something strange and scary about how the footage unfolds.
You want to see something freaky? We'll take a look at some old footage. This is from the Theodore Brill's assisted living community, and it's security footage from back in the 80s. This camera would just kind of generally face this hallway, but one night it caught something very eerie in this particular frame. Before we get into it, I have got to say thank you to you for making my podcast, Creep Time the Podcast, number 18 in the whole country. I'm very grateful. So if you have not listened to Creep Time the Podcast, go click the link in my bio. If you look to the background of this footage, on the right there appears to be an elderly woman just standing there. What really kind of freaked everybody out is that everybody recognized this woman. The staff could tell that this was Blanche Raymond. The problem is, Blanche Raymond died 2 years earlier in 1984. Still, the consensus from the staff is that the footage clearly shows who they recognize to be this woman. Just feasibly no explanation for it. How do we explain this footage?
What is the TKTK story? When you come across the TKTK, there is only one thing to do: run.
Creepy Cryptids from Around the World, Part 11. Teke Teke. The Teke Teke is a malevolent Japanese ghost or demon that has entered the domain of both urban legend and horror franchise in its own right, similar to the more infamous Kuchisake Onna. Her name comes from the sound she makes when she pursues her victims, running across the ground, using her hands or elbows, as her entire lower section has been torn off, leaving nothing but her upper torso and arms, by which the demon hunts down her prey. Teke Teke belongs to a very large subtype of Japanese demons known as the vengeful ghosts, usually women. These demons were once human, but became monsters after death, and now exist only to kill and torment the living. Teke Teke was originally a human, called Kaizo, who was bullied and or sexually assaulted, which caused her to jump off a train station onto the tracks. Kaizo was then cut in half by the incoming train. She barely survived due to the cold weather. She crawled to a person for help, but upon seeing her disfigurement, that person left her there to die. Her vengeful spirit now stalks the streets of Japan. One particular story goes as follows. As a young schoolboy was walking home one night, he spotted a beautiful young girl standing by a windowsill, resting her elbows. They smiled at each other for a moment. The boy wondered what a girl was doing in an all-boys school, but before he could wonder more about the girl, she jumped out of the window and revealed that her lower half was missing. Frightened, he stood in the sidewalk, but before he could run, she caught up to his location and using a scythe, cut the boy in half. If someone sees or is spotted by Teke Teke near them at night, she will pursue them, armed with her trusty scythe, or in some iterations, a saw. And if that person is not fast enough, she'll slice them in half too, causing them to mimic her own demise. Teke Teke is one of the dozens of creatures featured in my new board game, Encounters, the Cryptid Hunting Game. To learn more about the game and pre-order your copy, check out the Kickstarter link in my bio.
In this next clip, you get to see the story of the baseline killer. This is the story of one of the infamous Arizona serial killers.
To anyone who may be triggered by these topics, or anyone who is faint of heart, please keep scrolling. Serial Killers from Every U.S. State, Part 3. Arizona. Mark Gradillo, aka the Baseline Killer. Mark Gradillo became known as the Baseline Killer when he terrorized the Phoenix, Arizona community in the summer of 2006. He would attack women during their daily lives. One woman was simply vacuuming her car when he brutally assaulted and murdered her. Another woman met a similar fate when she was just waiting at a bus stop. They were all found in pools of their blood, with their pants pulled halfway down. In total, Gradillo was found guilty of killing 9 people, most of them women. In 2016, his 9 death sentences were upheld in Phoenix. At the time of this recording, he is still alive and in prison.
In this next clip, you get to see the story of the Butcher Baker. This is the story of one of the infamous serial killers from Alaska.
To anyone who may be triggered by these topics, or anyone who is faint of heart, please keep scrolling. Serial Killers from Every U.S. State, Part 2. Alaska. Robert Henson, aka the Butcher Baker. Alaska has more serial killers per its population size than any other state, according to HuffPost. Among those violent psychopaths is Robert Henson. Henson appeared to be a model father, husband, and business owner, but he was harboring a terrible secret. He was hunting women like animals. In 1971, he started to abduct sex workers and strippers and bring them to his remote cabin in the woods, where he would torture them. He'd let them loose in the woods of Anchorage, and then he'd hunt them down for mere pleasure. When he was finally caught, Henson confessed to murdering 17 people, but was only convicted for 4. He died in prison in 2014 at the age of 75.
The goat sucker who feeds off livestock alone. But does this mean humans are safe from this creature? Let's find out.
Creepy Cryptids from Around the World, Part 10. The Chupacabra. El Chupacabra is a cryptid that is renowned for its attacks on livestock, hence the Spanish name, the goat sucker. It supposedly eats chickens, goats, and other farm animals and pets. It has been reported all over the Americas, specifically the southwestern United States, Mexico, and Puerto Rico. There are 2 common versions of the Chupacabra. There is a reptilian kind, the true Chupacabra, and a mammalian canid kind, which are also called blue dogs. There have been more than 2,000 sightings of both types. When it sucks blood, it allegedly makes an odd noise. The common description of chupacabras is a strange breed of wild dog. This form is mostly hairless and has a pronounced spinal ridge, unusually pronounced eye sockets, fangs, and claws. It is claimed that this breed might be an example of a dog-like reptile. Unlike conventional predators, the chupacabra is said to drain all of the animal's blood and sometimes organs, usually through 3 holes in the shape of an upside-down triangle. Another description of chupacabras, although not as common, describe a reptile-like creature, appearing to have leathery or scaly greenish-gray skin, sharp spines or quills running down its back, and in some cases, leathery wings. This form stands approximately 3 to 4 feet tall, and stands and hops in similar fashion to that of a kangaroo, according to original reports from Puerto Rico. In at least one sighting, the creature was reported to hop 20 feet in a single bound. This variety is said to have dog or panther-like noses and faces, a forked tongue, and large fangs. It is said to hiss and screech when alarmed, as well as leave behind a sulfuric stench. When it screeches, some reports assert that the chupacabra's eyes glow an unusual red, which ends up giving the witnesses nausea. Their first known attacks were in March of 1995 in Puerto Rico. 8 sheep were discovered dead, each completely drained of blood. Investigators found 3 strange puncture wounds in the chests of the animals. Despite the odd circumstances, authorities could only attribute the killings to a known predator, a fox perhaps. Others, however, began to recognize the similarities in these deaths, and thus the legend of the chupacabra was born. The chupacabra is one of the dozens of creatures featured in my new board game, Encounters, the cryptid hunting game. To learn more about the game and pre-order your copy, check out the Kickstarter link in my bio.
For this next clip, you have to hold on tight for the scary experience you are about to watch. What do you notice?
Scariest moments caught on camera PT.14.
On today's episode of Videos Humans Were Never Meant to See, we see insects come together to fight off a predator.
These are videos humans were never meant to see, part 26. Okay, so we all know how scary and big the Japanese giant hornets are. But the video I'm about to show you shows a Japanese giant hornet killing a bee. Then all the bee's friends come and attack the Japanese giant hornet. This video is amazing, so you better watch it.
Not so scared now, are we? Let us know what you think about these videos.